All right, good morning, everybody. Thank you all for showing up this morning to officially welcome back Kelly Krauskopf as President of Basketball Business Operations for the Indiana Fever.
This transition signals a massive, calculated shift in how the franchise plans to build around its talent. The stakes have never been higher for the future of the WNBA. With Caitlin Clark serving as the definitive focal point, every single executive decision carries immense structural weight. Her record-shattering rookie campaign has completely rewritten the manual on what a modern superstar can generate. Because of this, the general landscape of professional women's basketball is shifting at a pace that legacy structures cannot match. Professional women's basketball has evolved with a speed that absolutely no analyst could have predicted. For months, one name dominated the national conversation. While observers focused purely on box scores and shooting stats, the most powerful decision-maker in the building was quietly orchestrating a far more strategic, calculated series of moves. Rival front offices have been completely blindsided by Kelly Krauskopf's decisive stance regarding Caitlin Clark and Sophie Cunningham. For over 2 decades, the WNBA operated under rigid financial limitations and a painfully slow growth mentality. But when Krauskopf chose to treat this franchise as the primary engine of the league's economic future rather than a side project, that cautious era officially ended. The hard reality of this direction goes far deeper than mere jersey sales. This new approach, which essentially represents a total overhaul of team governance, has received significant pushback. For veteran players who spent years sacrificing to build this league, the sudden focus shift feels like a slap in the face. Yet, the business metrics do not lie. Krauskopf clearly recognized that the Caitlin Clark phenomenon was far more than just a passing fad. With $1 billion in growth potential at stake, aggressive protectiveness became absolute mandatory policy. This represented far more than a subtle warning to WNBA leadership. It fundamentally altered how the game is marketed, officiated, and physically transported. By refusing to let rigid tradition stifle unprecedented revenue, Krauskopf forced other franchises to adapt. Players and coaches must now decide how they fit into this brand new reality. When Clark initially stepped onto a professional court, analysts naturally anticipated a steep rookie learning curve. But nobody could have anticipated the sheer level of hostility directed at her every single night. Welcome to the league. Moments quickly began to resemble targeted, physical hostility rather than healthy rivalry, ranging from mid-court shoulder checks to flagrant, football-style tackles. But the front office was watching closely, tracking the physical toll, and recognizing that keeping their marquee attraction safe on the hardwood was the highest priority. They knew the franchise could not afford to let extreme physical play sideline their franchise player. This hard realization immediately forced a major shift in operational strategy. Leadership was suddenly forced to make a defining choice that would impact the sport for the next 10 years. After watching the league's absolute biggest draw get repeatedly battered on court, Krauskopf reportedly reached a boiling point. She concluded that the traditional let-them-play mentality was simply bad for business, putting a target on any veteran operating as an aggressive enforcer. Locker rooms across the country grew divided, with veteran players whispering that rules were being modified on the fly to protect one superstar. Yet, the television ratings clearly validate why this exact choice was made. Caitlin Clark's games routinely draw up to 10 times the viewership of standard league matchups. Bottom line, the front office simply cannot afford to have their primary golden ticket sidelined on the bench due to an injury. This defensive shielding has fundamentally transformed the game's flow, driving a faster, perimeter-oriented style with significantly higher scoring. Conveniently, Krauskopf has spent decades advocating for that exact brand of up-tempo basketball. This internal friction reached a massive breaking point during the Olympic selection process. A huge portion of the fan base still refuses to forgive the league. Nominally, it looked like a standard basketball decision, favoring experienced veterans over the rookie. However, savvy industry insiders have since surmised a much more calculated, harsh reason behind the snub. Rumors suggested league leadership, swayed by traditionalist voices, actively wanted her left behind. Why would decision-makers leave their absolute biggest ticket seller completely off the global stage? It boils down to power, control, and load management. Keeping Clark stateside guaranteed she wouldn't burn out before the league's most profitable stretch, securing absolute, exclusive commercial access to rein her in. It was a cold, calculated gamble that prioritized immediate league revenue over the growth of each superstar's global brand. This move stunned the basketball world, signaling that front office executives are not interested in nurturing Caitlin Clark's organic progression. They want to squeeze every ounce of value from her to maximize the league's massive new multi-billion-dollar television rights package, leaving many diehard fans feeling totally cheated. Yet the financial payoff was undeniable, a re-energized superstar who stepped back on the hardwood and kept obliterating every single broadcast ratings record. That massive television contract has completely shifted the balance of power across the WNBA. Thanks to that historic $2.2 billion broadcast deal. For decades, critics viewed this as a league that constantly needed financial lifelines just to survive. But with the Caitlin Clark phenomenon driving peak demand, Kelly Krauskopf weaponized those record-breaking rookie numbers as ultimate leverage in high-stakes talks with Disney, NBC, and Amazon. The tough reality was that it relegated the league's own internal leadership to the passenger seat. Kelly Krauskopf took full control, establishing once and for all that women's basketball is a vital piece of the company's broader international media blueprint. That translates directly to primetime national broadcasts, top-tier production values, and moving past the league's old reputation as a minor, niche product. While this massive financial windfall secures future player salaries, it also means the corporate front office is watching every move like a hawk. Every technical foul, every heated social media post, and every locker room rumor is suddenly magnified and scrutinized, just like drama surrounding LeBron James or Steph Curry. The entire basketball community has evolved. Kelly Krauskopf has already made it crystal clear that anyone who refuses to adapt to these strict professional standards will simply get left behind in this new corporate era. The most immediate sign of this high-stakes evolution was the fierce, league-wide push for private charter flights. For decades, these elite athletes dealt with the exhausting, unglamorous grind of standard commercial travel, dealing with packed middle seats, endless airport security lines, and constant flight delays. Front offices always blamed the massive budget constraints, but once safety concerns surrounding Caitlin Clark's massive crowd started dominating the headlines, Kelly Krauskopf and the executives pivoted fast. By greenlighting tens of millions of dollars for team charter flights, they basically forced franchises to overhaul their travel logistics instantly. The small market teams felt the squeeze immediately because they were completely caught off guard by the massive spike in operating costs, even though it was a major victory for player wellness. Still, there were deeper optics at play behind this executive call. This was an aggressive statement of intent, proving the WNBA is no longer a second-tier product, as Kelly Krauskopf told the Globe. If the brand wants to compete globally, it has to look the part, even if that means spending cash they have not fully generated yet. That classic Kelly Krauskopf approach, a spend money to make money tactic, is a highly aggressive, risky break from the traditional playbook in women's professional sports. But this hyper-growth blueprint is easily the most polarizing part of the new direction. Kelly Krauskopf is determined to rapidly expand the footprint, not just maintain the status quo. With new franchises coming to Portland, Toronto, and Golden State, this aggressive growth has left critics deeply worried about watering down the on-court product. The harsh, reality-facing active players is that upcoming expansion drafts will gut existing rosters, completely upending the league's competitive balance. This accelerated timeline is directly tied to a desperate rush to cash in on the Caitlin Clark craze. While public interest is at an all-time high, executives want more games, fresh markets, additional broadcast inventory, and more merchandise to peddle. Insiders were stunned to see the slow, methodical growth plan thrown out the window the second Caitlin Clark's jersey became the most popular merchandise item in all of professional sports. Because the business is growing faster than the Players Association can negotiate, current athletes are growing anxious over what the upcoming collective bargaining agreement will actually look like. Meanwhile, the league's locker room culture is fracturing under the weight of administrative handling of these forced rivalry and jealousy narratives. The league historically built its brand around sisterhood and solidarity, but Kelly Krauskopf's front office quickly learned that bad blood drives ratings. Leaning into the fierce competition between Caitlin Clark and other high-profile rookies like Angel Reese represents a massive departure From traditional, community-focused marketing strategies to juice social media interactions and drive sellout crowds, the front office is actively leaning into the drama instead of diffusing it. Because this promotion style has been completely altered, locker rooms are feeling deep friction. The business gains are undeniable, but players feel cast as villains just to feed a manufactured hero narrative. The league's newest superstar. Women's basketball has never witnessed this level of fan engagement, and Kelly Krauskopf's massive gamble on conflict-driven marketing is paying off in ways no one could have imagined just 2 years ago. As this latest round of high-level decisions draws to a close, the Commissioner's office has issued a definitive statement. The WNBA is no longer a developmental project. In this high-stakes landscape, the traditional rules of earning your stripes are gone, replaced by the brutal reality of market worth. Cathy Engelbert's leadership has essentially forced this league to mature by 10 years in a single season. And despite the obvious growing pains, the potential financial payoff is massive. At this crucial turning point, every choice the league makes regarding Caitlin Clark shapes the future of the sport. There is simply no going back. Whether you love this aggressive new direction or miss the days when things felt more cohesive, a league with the cultural impact of the WNBA is only being made possible by today's incredibly tough decisions. Cathy Engelbert's choice to protect her absolute most valuable asset at all costs marked the start of that journey. And while players might be furious and the front office is shocked, the world is watching like never before. In the business of modern sports, that is the only metric that actually matters. The long-term impact of these moves will be massive, especially if the next generation of players sees the WNBA as a highly profitable career path instead of a pipe dream. The clash between the old guard and the younger generation is not going away anytime soon. If anything, the league's decision-making will only tighten up as the stakes continue to rise. Now that Cathy Engelbert has placed her chips on the table, everyone in the hoops world must play their part. It is highly debatable whether the league can protect its integrity while chasing these incredibly lofty financial goals. One thing is certain: the WNBA of last year is gone. It has been replaced by a fast-paced, high-drama, highly lucrative machine that is only getting started. The radical moves shaking up the league today are likely just the opening act of a massive shift in global women's sports. So, the real question is how far the commissioner will go to guarantee that this lucrative Caitlin Clark era never ends. The dramatic shift in officiating alone has already sparked massive outbursts in locker rooms. After 10 years of physical, old-school basketball, imagine learning overnight that breathing too hard on the rookie is now an automatic foul. Cathy Engelbert issued precise marching orders: protect the shooter. It was not entirely about Caitlin Clark, but she was obviously the driving force. League executives realize that casual television viewers do not tune in to watch a physical wrestling match. They want to see deep logo threes and fast, electric transitions. By tightening up the whistles, Kelly Krauskopf successfully forced the WNBA into an offensive-friendly era. Veteran coaches who built their entire defensive identities on aggressive playstyles naturally called this strategy incredibly harsh. They were forced to scrap years of defensive schemes in just a matter of weeks. Just as shocking as the new rules was the aggressive speed of their rollout. Referees who resisted the wide-open style faced heavy scrutiny, while officials who called it tight were rewarded with high-profile primetime games. Naturally, players quickly became highly suspicious. They complained that because they could not guard Caitlin Clark without getting whistled, the league was blatantly favoring its brand-new superstar. The league, however, viewed this as a vital evolution. A shooter who can pull up from 40 feet should not be held in a wrestling clinch for 40 minutes. You want her free to make the viral highlights that take over social media feeds. This viral economy is exactly what Kelly Krauskopf is funding. She knows that every time Caitlin Clark hits a logo three, the league's overall valuation climbs by millions of dollars. But the cost of this expansion is alienating the league's defensive stars, who now feel like relics from a bygone era. Leaked internal documents revealed that the league was prioritizing sheer entertainment value over fundamental basketball skills. For many purists, this felt like the ultimate betrayal of what the WNBA was built on. It was always about physical grit and earning every single basket. Now, critics see it as a manufactured stage designed to showcase a single superstar. On the other hand, the new crowd does not care about history. They want the spectacle. They want to be part of the moment. and Kelly Krauskopf is determined to make the presentation as exciting and high-end as possible. Because of this bizarre dynamic, the league's premier defenders are actually afraid to do their jobs. They know that a physical play on Caitlin Clark will cost them much more than 2 free throws. It means a week-long media circus painting them as the villain. That psychological pressure is all part of the difficult decision-making process, rewriting the rulebook. It all stems from treating superstars as absolutely untouchable. It took decades for the NBA to fully internalize this, spanning from Michael Jordan to LeBron James. Now, it is unfolding in real time during the course of a single WNBA season. The establishment is completely blindsided. Every single scouting report is being overhauled by opposing teams. Do you still play physical defense, or simply try to outscore them? Increasingly, the answer is the latter. This deliberate shift toward high-scoring showcases is exactly what television networks wanted. Kelly Krauskopf delivered exactly the kind of modern, fast-paced product they were demanding. There are massive financial implications. As revenues surge, the salary cap will inevitably skyrocket. The veterans who are complaining right now might be signing $20 million deals in 5 years. Right now, this transition is highly disruptive. Veterans feel their reputation and playstyle are targeted. The front office response to this pushback has been anything but gentle, essentially telling old-school players to step aside for the new era. Clear lines have been drawn in the sand. Kelly Krauskopf and her team are signaling that you either support this vision or get run over. WNBA players and executives used to collaborate far more closely. Now, it is strict, top-down management. That old partnership has been completely replaced by cold, corporate urgency. The league cannot afford to waste its tiny commercial window on pure sentimentality. This explains why the handling of Caitlin Clark felt like such a shock. It marked the death of the old, player-driven niche league and birthed a true global media powerhouse. This massive shift is felt everywhere, throughout the entire basketball landscape. Global leagues are on high alert as elite international prospects, desperate to ride the Caitlin Clark phenomenon, now viewing the WNBA as an increasingly attractive, premier destination. Meanwhile, the pressure resting on Caitlin Clark is immense. She is no longer just a player, she is the engine of an entire industry. Every corporate decision involving her is parsed for favoritism, while every move is dissected. Yet, League Commissioner Cathy Engelbert remains completely unmoved. She understands that history will judge this era by its financial growth, rather than bruised egos of pioneering athletes. The unpleasant reality is this, that pro basketball is a business first and a game second. For the first time ever, the WNBA is operating like a ruthless, high-stakes corporation, and the resulting boom is undeniable. Achieving this takeoff required an elite rookie from Iowa and a commissioner armed with a cold, calculating vision. Nobody could have anticipated how rapidly the future would arrive, even if it meant making decisions that shook the sport's very foundation. Still, the game is faster and the stakes are higher. Complicated. How will the league manage the next generation of talent? Will they receive this same level of institutional shielding and marketing push? Or is this massive machine built exclusively for Caitlin Clark? Rivals are watching closely as internal dynamics continue to shift. But one thing is completely clear. The league has stopped playing catch-up. It is setting the pace. Now, today's difficult choices are simply the new baseline. WNBA leadership did what was necessary to survive and grow. Along the way, they changed the actual game forever, fundamentally reshaping the future of women's professional sports. The massive, sudden explosion of interest in professional women's basketball has completely transformed how analysts like us cover the sport. With this dedicated Clark update platform continuing to expand at a rapid rate, it is incredibly clear that modern hoop fans are exceptionally hungry for deep coverage. They demand the latest WNBA news, breaking stories, and exclusive updates, approaching 25,000 strong. That immense level of fan passion and ongoing analytical debate online shows just how deeply invested this brand new hoops audience has truly become recently. As this thrilling season continues to push forward on the hardwood, we will be right here delivering every single major development that breaks out on the court.